The first time I saw Karen, she was standing on my porch in her neon pink blazer, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. Her hair was stiff with hairspray, and her smile didn't touch her eyes. "Mr. Carter," she said, tapping her pen against the paper, "your hedges are 2 inches too tall. HOA violation. You've got 24 hours to fix it, or else." She left the fine on my doormat and strutted away, heels clicking like gunshots. I crumpled the paper, laughing. Hedges? I'd just moved into this quiet Ohio suburb to give my wife, Mia, peace before our baby came. She was 8 months pregnant, ankles swollen, nesting like crazy. The last thing I cared about was Karen's obsession with landscaping. Big mistake. 3 days later, Mia was watering the roses when Karen's white SUV screeched to a halt. 2 HOA enforcers jumped out. Guys built like refrigerators, tasers strapped to their belts. Mia froze, hose still in hand, as Karen barked, "You ignored the fine!" Now we escalate. Before Mia could speak, one of the goons yanked the hose away, the other shoved her. She stumbled back, clutching her belly, and Karen snapped, "Restrain her!" I was inside, chopping carrots for soup, when I heard Mia scream. By the time I ran out, she was on the ground, writhing, a taser's prongs buried in her side. Karen stood over her, smirking. "Consider this your final warning," she said, tossing the taser to her lackey. "Cut the hedges, or next time, we'll cut the power." They drove off, kicking gravel onto Mia's legs. The ER doctor said the baby was okay, but Mia wouldn't stop shaking. "They're monsters," she whispered, tears soaking the hospital gown. "What if they come back?" I held her hand, my wedding ring digging into my fist. Karen had no idea who I was, no idea what I could do. Because I wasn't just some guy who'd bought a fixer-upper in the suburbs. I was Judge Elias Carter, and I'd spent 20 years putting people like her in prison. The next morning, I found another notice taped to our front door. This time, it wasn't about hedges. Karen had circled a blurry photo of Mia's rose garden in our backyard, accusing us of unauthorized vegetation and emotional distress to neighbors. The fine was $5,000, due in 48 hours, but the real threat was scribbled in red ink at the bottom. Non-compliance equals demolition. HOA Bylaw 12.7. Mia stared at the paper, her face pale. "They can't do this," she said, voice trembling. "Those roses, they're all I have left of her." She didn't need to say it. I knew. Mia's mother had died 2 years ago. We'd mixed her ashes into the soil when we planted the garden. Karen wasn't just threatening flowers. She was digging up a grave. I called the HOA office, pretending to be clueless. Karen picked up, her tone sugary. "Oh, Mr. Carter," she purred, "Bylaw 12.7 clearly states no non-native species without board approval. Your wife's roses are invasive." I could hear papers shuffling. "But don't worry. We'll handle the removal. Free of charge." I hung up and grabbed my laptop. 20 years as a federal judge taught me one thing. Paper trails kill. I pulled up the HOA's bylaws. Bylaw 12.7. It didn't exist. Karen had forged it. I dug deeper. Tax records, meeting minutes, encrypted board emails. By midnight, I'd uncovered it all. Karen had been embezzling HOA funds for years, laundering money through fake landscaping contracts. She'd bullied 3 elderly neighbors into selling their homes below market value. One couple had fled to Arizona after she accidentally released termites into their attic. But none of that compared to what I found next. A file labeled Carter Property popped up in her deleted emails. Photos of Mia's doctor's appointments, screenshots of our security cameras. A note: "Once the garden's gone, she'll break." They'll sell the house for pennies. Easy flip. My hands shook. This wasn't about roses. Karen wanted our land, and she'd hurt Mia to get it. The next day, Karen arrived with a bulldozer. Mia stood in front of the roses, arms spread, screaming, "You'll have to kill me first!" Karen rolled her eyes, nodding to her crew. That's when I stepped outside, phone in hand, and said, "Go ahead, Karen. Destroy it. But first, say hello to my friend." I turned the screen toward her. A live video call showed a DEA agent I'd put away a decade ago, now a CI wearing a wire. His voice crackled. "Hey, Karen. Heard you're looking to sell meth lab houses? Let's talk." Karen's face went gray. She didn't know I'd spent years sentencing drug lords, or that I still had favors to call in. As Karen's bulldozer reversed out of our driveway, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Check your wife's car." I ran to the garage. Taped under the steering wheel was a tiny device, a GPS tracker, and a note, "Stop digging, Judge, or the next bomb won't be fake." I stared at the bomb threat, my throat tight. Mia was inside, asleep on the couch, her hands resting on her swollen belly. I couldn't tell her. Not yet. I called 911, but the dispatcher sounded bored. "False alarms happen all the time, sir. We'll send a unit eventually." 2 hours later, a cop car finally rolled up. The officer stepped out, and my blood turned cold. Deputy Russo. I'd presided over his brother's assault trial last year. Gave him 5 years. Russo glared at me, chewing gum like it owed him money. "Heard you're having HOA troubles, Your Honor." He kicked the GPS device. "Probably kids pranking. Don't waste our time." As he drove off, my phone rang. A raspy voice growled, "You recognize me yet, Judge?" Karen's bulldozer driver. I'd seen his face earlier, scars, tattoos, eyes dead as a shark's. But now it hit me. Marco Velas. I'd sentenced him to 25 years for armed robbery. He'd sworn in court, "I'll burn your life down." "Surprise," Marco sneered. "Karen hired me the day I got out. Told me you lived here. You think that tracker was her idea? Nah. I've been waiting to give you a present." A text popped up, a photo of Mia's car, time-stamped an hour ago. The GPS device now had a red wire attached. Real bomb. "Tick-tock, Judge. You've got 2 choices," Marco said. "Option 1, call the cops and I blow your pretty wife to confetti. Option 2, meet me at the old steel mill in 1 hour, alone, or I'll finish what Karen started." I grabbed my gun from the safe, hands steady. Federal judges don't panic, but my chest felt like it was cracking open. I kissed Mia's forehead, lied about errands, and drove off. The steel mill was a rotting skeleton of metal. Marco stood in the shadows, holding a detonator. "You think you're smart?" he spat. "Karen's just the face. The HOA's a front. We've been buying up this whole neighborhood, flipping houses for meth cash. And your land? Perfect for a new lab." He tossed me a shovel. "Start digging your grave. Once you're dead, Karen evicts your wife. Easy." I gripped the shovel, calculating. Marco's left leg dragged. Old prison injury. I swung the shovel hard at his knee. He crumpled, detonator flying. We wrestled in the dirt, his hands clawing at my eyes. Gunshots rang out. Marco froze, a dark stain spreading on his shirt. Behind us stood the DEA informant from earlier, Jesse, the ex-meth dealer I'd flipped. He lowered his pistol. "Told you I'd pay my debt, Judge." Marco gasped. "You stupid rat!" Jesse shot him again. "Shut up!" He handed me a flash drive. "Karen's records, bank routes, property deals, everything. But you gotta move now. She's got a crew heading to your house." I sped home, tires screeching. Too late. Karen's SUV was parked outside. Two men were dragging Mia, screaming, into their truck. One clamped a hand over her mouth, the other laughed. Boss says the baby's leverage. I slammed the gas, ramming their truck. The impact threw them sideways. Mia scrambled free, clutching her belly. I jumped out, gun raised. Next move, I put a hole in your skulls. They drove off, spitting curses. Mia collapsed into my arms. Eli, they said they'd cut the baby out if you didn't drop the evidence. That's when I snapped. Back inside, I opened Karen's files. Her HOA wasn't just a scam, it was a pipeline. She sold houses to cartels who turned them into drug dens. And her silent partner, Deputy Russo. Photos showed him shaking hands with cartel thugs, stacks of cash on the table. But the final folder made my stomach drop. Project Phoenix, blueprints for a massive lab under our neighborhood park, where Mia walked every morning, where our baby would have played. Karen's crew wasn't just coming for us. They were going to poison the entire town. The doorbell rang. A delivery man handed Mia a bouquet. "Congrats on the baby," he said. She opened the card. It read, "Cute kid. Shame it'll die before it breathes. K." Under the flowers was a syringe filled with clear liquid. The syringe clattered to the floor as Mia's knees buckled. I caught her just as the first explosion hit, a thunderous boom that shattered windows 3 blocks away. The park. Flames clawed the sky, smoke billowing like a funeral veil. Sirens wailed, but Mia's scream drowned them out. "Eli, the baby's coming, now!" Her water broke, soaking the carpet. Panic shot through me. Too early. 8 months. The doctors had warned about complications. I dialed 911, but the lines were dead. Karen's doing. "Hold on, Mia, I'll get us to the hospital." I scooped her up, her nails digging into my neck. The streets were chaos, neighbors screaming, fires spreading. Karen's crew had rigged the sewers with explosives. Project Phoenix wasn't a lab. It was a network of underground meth cookers set to blow the whole suburb to hell. We swerved around a crater, Mia panting in the back seat. "Eli, they're here." A black SUV rammed us from behind. Deputy Russo leaned out the window, pistol aimed. "Pull over, Judge, or your wife and kid die on the asphalt," Mia moaned, her contractions minutes apart. I floored it, bullets pinging the trunk. At the hospital entrance, I carried her through the doors, shouting for help. Nurses froze. The ER was overflowing with burn victims. A doctor in bloodied scrubs pointed upstairs. "Delivery ward's on lockdown. Power's out. Go." We stumbled into a dim room. Mia gripped the bed rails, face drenched in sweat. I can't do this," she sobbed. "Yes, you can." I wiped her forehead, hands shaking. "You're the strongest person A shadow moved in the corner. Deputy Russo stepped out, gun raised. "Karen says hi." The shot echoed. Mia screamed, but Russo crumpled, a scalpel buried in his throat. Behind him stood the doctor, her mask lowered. "Dr. Rivera, my old law school classmate." "You're welcome," she said, yanking the scalpel free. "Now deliver that baby, I'll hold them off." Mia pushed, cursed, pushed again. A tiny cry pierced the air. Our son. I wrapped him in my shirt, tears blurring my vision. "He's perfect, Mia, he's—" The door burst open. Jesse staggered in, clutching a bleeding arm. "They're rigging the basement with C4. Whole building's gonna blow in 10 minutes. Dr. Rivera grabbed the baby. "Take the stairs. Go." We ran, Mia leaning on me. The walls shook, dust raining down. On the 3rd floor, Jesse froze. "Wait!" He kicked open a supply closet. Inside was Karen, frantically wiring a bomb to the gas line. "You ruined everything!" she screeched. Jesse lunged. They crashed into shelves, Karen slashing at him with a box cutter. "Judge, go!" he roared. We hit the parking lot as the hospital exploded behind us. Mia collapsed, clutching our son. Firefighters swarmed, but I stared at the inferno. Jesse was gone. Karen, too. Or so I thought. At 3 a.m., as Mia slept in a makeshift NICU tent, my phone buzzed. A video from an unknown number. Karen, face burned but alive, standing in front of a wrecked meth lab. "You think you won?" she hissed. "This was one site. There are 6 more. And your baby's name? Lucas Elias Carter. Cute. I'll send flowers to his funeral." The video cut to drone footage of our new safe house. A nurse tapped my shoulder. "Sir, your son's oxygen levels are dropping. We need to move him, but the ambulances are gone." I looked down at Lucas, his tiny chest struggling. Then I spotted the IV bag, tampered with. A sticky note. "Should have quit while you were ahead." I ripped the 4 from Lucas's tiny arm, my hands steady but my heart a riot. The nurse shouted for help, but I was already sprinting to the parking lot, my son wrapped in my jacket. Mia limped behind me, clutching her stitches. "Eli, where are we going?" "To end this." Karen's drone footage had shown our safe house, a cabin deep in the woods. But I knew her game. She'd want us to run there, to panic. Instead, I drove to the one place she'd never expect, the courthouse. I called a press conference, live on Facebook. "Karen Hockley," I said, staring into the camera, "you want to fight? Meet me at the old steel mill in 1 hour. Bring your evidence. Let's finish this." Mia gripped my arm. "You're baiting her? She's a narcissist. She'll come." We left Lucas with Dr. Rivera, armed guards at the door. The steel mill was silent, rusted beams groaning in the wind. Karen arrived in a black Escalade, flanked by 2 goons. She stepped out, holding a USB drive. "All 6 lab locations," she said. "Trade you for a helicopter and immunity." I nodded to the shadows. "Deal." A helicopter descended. Karen smirked, tossing me the USB. "Pleasure doing business, Judge." As she climbed aboard, I pressed a button on my phone. The helicopter's engine died. Karen's smile vanished. "What did you—" "You're under arrest," I said, as DEA agents swarmed the mill. "For drug trafficking, attempted murder, and violating HOA bylaws." Karen lunged at me, screeching, until Agent Reyes tased her. "Funny," Reyes said. "Your labs. We raided them an hour ago. The USB was empty." Karen's eyes bulged. "You lied." "No," I said. "I judged." At her trial, I didn't recuse myself. I sat in the gallery holding Lucas as the jury found Karen guilty on 47 counts. Sentencing, life without parole. As marshals dragged her out, she spat, "This isn't over." I stood, adjusting Lucas's blanket. "Yes, it is." Because that morning I'd filed a civil suit against her, seizing every asset, every dollar. Her HOA empire was now a community fund. And the meth labs? Bulldozed, the land turned into a park named after Mia's mother. 1 month later, Mia pushed Lucas's stroller through the new garden, roses blooming where ashes once lay. A plaque read, "Here lies justice and the love that made it grow." Karen's face flashed on a passing news van. "Disgraced HOA president attempts jailbreak. Fails." Mia laughed, sunlight catching her wedding ring. "Karma's prettier in spring." I kissed her, Lucas cooing between us. For the first time in months, the air smelled clean. If you believe Karen got what she deserved, smash that like button. Comment, "Karma wins," to celebrate justice. And subscribe for more stories where the bad guys never see it coming.